For decades, Switzerland has stood as the world's calmest nation. Spotless streets, disciplined citizens, and mountains so peaceful they almost seem sacred. A place where time ticks in perfect rhythm, and the world imagines nothing bad could ever happen. But what if that image isn't real? What if behind the postcard beauty lies a story built not on peace, but on profit? Switzerland's famous neutrality is more than a political stance. It's an empire built on silence. While Europe burned, through 2 world wars, this tiny mountain nation quietly grew richer. Its banks expanding, its industries thriving, its gold vaults filling with wealth from both sides of the battlefield. People trust the Swiss for their honesty, yet some of the darkest money in history flowed through their hands. From Nazi gold to secret accounts belonging to dictators, Switzerland became the world's financial hiding place. Untouched, unquestioned, and unstoppable. The world calls it peaceful. But peace here isn't innocence, it's strategy. A nation that claims neutrality but thrives on the conflicts of others. In this documentary, we journey beneath the snow, behind the banks, and into the secrets Switzerland never wanted the world to see. Because sometimes the most peaceful places hide the loudest truths. Switzerland, the country the world calls the most peaceful on earth. No wars, no enemies, no chaos. But look closer, and you'll see that peace here was never simply given. It was engineered. This calm, picture-perfect nation didn't escape conflict by chance. It built a system designed to profit from it. During both world wars, while neighboring countries were turned into battlefields, Switzerland quietly became the banker of Europe. Trains carrying wounded soldiers passed through its borders. But so did trains carrying gold, diamonds, and foreign currency. Swiss industries never stopped running. Watchmakers produced precision instruments for armies. Pharmaceutical companies supplied both sides. And when the world's economies collapsed, Switzerland's banks only grew stronger. They called it neutrality. But in truth, it was the art of survival. A strategy that turned peace into power. The Swiss didn't fight wars. They financed them. While others lost lives, Switzerland gained influence, wealth, and a reputation for stability that it still enjoys today. The image of peace became its greatest export. A brand so clean that no one questioned what lay beneath. But every myth hides a cost, and behind Switzerland's calm surface lies a truth that rewrites history itself. Because peace in this country was never free. It was built to last and to earn. While the world descended into chaos, Switzerland quietly built an empire, not with armies, but with banks. During both world wars, when cities across Europe were reduced to ashes, the Swiss economy soared. And it wasn't luck, it was design. As nations fought, they needed somewhere safe to store their wealth. Switzerland became that refuge. Its neutrality guaranteed protection, and its banking secrecy promised silence. Gold flowed in from every direction, from allies and enemies alike. Even Nazi Germany depended on Swiss banks to exchange looted gold for hard currency, keeping their war machine alive. Meanwhile, art stolen from Jewish families, entire national reserves, and corporate fortunes vanished behind the polished steel doors of Swiss vaults. While Europe rationed food and fuel, Swiss bankers calculated profits to the decimal. They never fired a bullet, yet gained more from the war than many who fought it. The nation's wealth grew as the world burned, and when the dust settled, Switzerland emerged richer, cleaner, and still neutral. It was a masterstroke of survival and opportunism. The truth is simple, but unsettling. Switzerland didn't escape war. It monetized it, And what was hidden behind those vault doors would later expose one of the darkest secrets in modern European history. For decades, whispers spread through Europe. Whispers about missing gold, stolen art, and vanished fortunes. The trail always seemed to lead to the same place, Switzerland. During World War II, Nazi Germany looted billions of dollars worth of gold from occupied nations and Jewish victims. But what could they do with stolen gold? They needed to trade it for usable currency, and only one country had the neutrality and discretion to help: Switzerland. Swiss banks quietly accepted the Nazi gold, melted it down, and recast it into new bars. The origins disappeared. The gold looked clean, but its past was soaked in blood. Decades later, when the truth began to surface, investigators discovered that much of this gold had passed through Swiss vaults. In the 1990s, global outrage finally forced Switzerland to confront its role. Some banks admitted they held Nazi-linked assets. Others denied everything, but many records had already been destroyed, conveniently lost to history. The damage, however, was undeniable. The same banks that symbolized honesty and order had helped fund a regime of horror. Switzerland's image cracked, but never shattered. Because in this country, even the darkest truths are polished until they shine. And behind that shine lies something even more unsettling: the way Switzerland turned secrecy itself into an industry. Beneath Switzerland's breathtaking mountains lies a world that few will ever see. Hidden inside the Swiss Alps are some of the most secure vaults on the planet. Massive underground fortresses designed to survive anything from natural disasters to nuclear war. These aren't ordinary bank basements. They are entire underground cities of concrete and steel, built into old military bunkers, where air, temperature, and even humidity are controlled with absolute precision. Inside them lies the wealth of nations. Gold bars stacked like walls, rare diamonds, priceless art, and documents too sensitive to exist anywhere else. Some vaults belong to banks, others to private security firms, and a few are said to hold assets for entire governments, all protected by Switzerland's legendary neutrality. Here, ownership is a secret. Even the vault operators often don't know what they're guarding, or for whom. These facilities are so secure that even a direct nuclear strike might not destroy them. It's as if Switzerland has built a backup for the world's wealth, a silent, indestructible archive of human power. But the question remains: what else lies hidden down there? Because when a nation builds vaults strong enough to outlast civilization itself, it makes you wonder what they're truly protecting. Every year, more than 11 million tourists flood into Switzerland, drawn by its crystal lakes, perfect mountains, and postcard towns that seem frozen in time. But what the world sees as paradise, locals are beginning to call a quiet invasion. Behind the beauty lies a growing imbalance. As luxury hotels rise and chalets turn into million-dollar holiday homes, prices soar beyond what ordinary residents can afford. In once traditional villages like Zermatt or Interlaken, local families are slowly disappearing, replaced by seasonal workers and wealthy foreigners who visit only a few weeks a year. Entire towns now feel like open-air museums, beautiful, but empty. The government celebrates tourism as a vital source of income. Yet, for many Swiss, it feels like selling their identity piece by piece. Traditional crafts vanish, local dialects fade, and the quiet culture of modest living is replaced by luxury tourism worth billions. Even nature pays the price. Fragile alpine ecosystems strain under the pressure of millions of visitors, plastic waste, and relentless development. Switzerland still markets itself as pure, peaceful, and untouched, but that image is carefully managed. Not entirely true. Because the more the world comes to see Switzerland's perfection, the faster that perfection begins to fade. And the question remains, how long can paradise stay perfect before it's no longer real? Neutrality, the word that made Switzerland famous. The world sees it as moral purity, a stance of peace above politics. But neutrality has a cost, and that cost is often paid in silence. When nations imposed sanctions or boycotts against oppressive regimes, Switzerland stayed open for business. During South Africa's apartheid era, when the world condemned racial segregation, Swiss companies quietly continued to trade gold and weapons with Pretoria. Their justification? Neutrality. Their reward? Profit. The same pattern repeated across decades. From dictatorships in Latin America to sanctioned nations in the Middle East, Switzerland supplied what others refused to: machinery, chemicals, technology. Officially, it wasn't taking sides. But in reality, neutrality became a license to look away. For Switzerland, staying neutral wasn't just about peace. It was about preserving access. Trade never stopped. Money never slept. And moral responsibility was conveniently lost somewhere in between. Neutrality, in the Swiss sense, doesn't mean staying out of conflict. It means finding a way to benefit without being blamed. It's a perfect balance of ethics and economics. A balance that's made Switzerland rich, respected, and remarkably untouchable. But to protect that neutrality, the nation had to create something even stronger. Laws designed to keep secrets forever. Neutrality, the word that defines Switzerland, a nation untouched by war for centuries. But neutrality wasn't born from peace. It was born from fear and necessity. In the early 1800s, Switzerland was a fragile collection of cantons, scarred by internal battles and surrounded by powerful empires. France, Austria, and Prussia all saw this tiny land as a convenient battlefield. Tired of endless bloodshed, Swiss leaders made a radical decision to never choose a side again. But this vow wasn't moral. It was practical. By staying neutral, Switzerland could survive, trade with everyone, offend no one, and quietly profit from every conflict around it. While empires fell, Switzerland remained untouched, uninvaded, and increasingly wealthy. By 1815, the Congress of Vienna officially recognized Swiss neutrality, turning it into international law. That law became a shield, but also a disguise. Behind it, the country built an economy that thrived in global chaos. Gold, goods, and secrets all passed safely through Swiss hands, protected by the illusion of impartiality. Neutrality became more than policy. It became identity, a moral costume for a strategic empire. Because in Switzerland, neutrality wasn't about standing apart from war, it was about finding a way to win without ever fighting. In Switzerland, secrecy isn't just a habit, it's the law. For over 90 years, Swiss bankers have sworn an oath stronger than many national loyalties. Revealing a client's identity, even to the government, was once punishable by prison. This legal wall of silence turned the Swiss banking system into a fortress for the powerful and the corrupt alike. Dictators hid fortunes here. War criminals stored blood money. Multinational corporations moved profits across invisible borders. And through it all, Switzerland kept its reputation clean. The world called it financial privacy. In truth, it was engineered invisibility. At its peak, Swiss banks held trillions in secret accounts. Money that never paid taxes, never faced justice, and never saw daylight. Even global investigations hit dead ends here. Files disappeared. Names were redacted. Evidence was untouchable. Only in the 21st century, after enormous international pressure, did Switzerland begin to relax some secrecy laws. But transparency came slowly and selectively. many loopholes remain. Even now, billions rest quietly in coded accounts, protected by legal barriers written to never break. Switzerland built its wealth on trust, the kind of trust that demands silence. But when secrecy becomes a nation's greatest strength, it can also become its darkest shield. And that shield has helped more than just bankers. It's empowered entire global empires hiding in plain sight. Switzerland may be small on the map, but its corporations shape the modern world. Names like Nestlé, Novartis, UBS, and Glencore sound familiar, yet few realize just how powerful they truly are. From baby food to medicine, from banking to raw materials, Swiss companies influence what billions of people eat, drink, and depend on every single day. Take Nestlé, the world's largest food company. It controls more than 2,000 brands across 180 countries, selling everything from coffee to bottled water. But critics accuse it of exploiting child labor, draining natural water sources, and profiting from poverty in developing nations. Glencore, a Swiss commodity giant, is linked to environmental destruction and human rights violations in mining. Regions across Africa and South America, even Switzerland's pharmaceutical companies have faced allegations of price manipulation and unethical testing abroad. Yet, through it all, they remain protected by the country's powerful legal systems and global influence. While Switzerland appears peaceful, its corporate reach extends into some of the world's most controversial industries. And because of the nation's neutrality, these companies often escape the scrutiny faced by others. Switzerland's true empire isn't built on land. It's built on corporations, and their power has roots that stretch back centuries, to a time when Switzerland profited from global conquest without ever raising a flag. Switzerland is known for fairness and law, a place where justice is swift, clean, and incorruptible. But beneath that polished surface lies a quieter truth. Swiss justice protects the system more than the people. The country's legal framework is designed not for exposure, but for containment. Financial crimes, tax evasion, and corporate misconduct are often handled behind closed doors. Prosecutors rarely pursue cases that could damage the nation's image or threaten its economic pillars. When scandals emerge, from hidden Nazi assets to corporate abuses, investigations seem to end just before reaching the powerful. Whistleblowers face harsh punishment, sometimes more than the criminals they expose. Revealing banking secrets, even in the public interest, can lead to prison. In one case, a Swiss banker who exposed hidden tax evasion schemes was prosecuted, while the banks he exposed remained untouched. This system ensures stability, but it also builds walls around truth. The world sees Switzerland as a symbol of fairness, yet its courts often operate in shadows, protecting wealth, reputation, and neutrality above transparency. Justice here is quiet, efficient, selective, and perhaps that's why Switzerland remains so spotless. Not because there's no dirt, but because it's swept, where no one dares to look. But what happens when the silence finally cracks? When the world begins to look inside those spotless walls? For decades, Switzerland's spotless image went unquestioned. But in the late 20th century, the world finally began to look closer, and the cracks began to show. It started with journalists, survivors, and historians digging into old archives, tracing the trails of Nazi gold, secret bank accounts, and silent deals that spanned generations. In 1996, international outrage erupted when evidence surfaced showing Swiss banks still held unreturned assets belonging to Holocaust victims. The discovery shocked the world. How could the most neutral country profit from war crimes? Under pressure from the US and Jewish organizations, Switzerland launched investigations. The results were devastating. Billions in unclaimed funds, erased records, and decades of deliberate silence. For the first time, the world saw the hidden face of Swiss neutrality, not moral purity, but quiet convenience. The same neutrality that once brought peace had also shielded guilt. Switzerland was forced to compensate victims and reform banking laws, but the damage was done. Its reputation was forever changed. Behind the perfect mountains and chocolate box, villages lay a truth the world could no longer ignore. Peace can hide corruption, just as easily as conflict can expose it, and while the world's gaze eventually turned elsewhere, Switzerland learned one lesson well. Transparency is temporary, but secrecy, if managed carefully, can last forever. To understand Switzerland's hidden world, you have to understand its mindset, a culture shaped by fear, control, and survival. For centuries, surrounded by powerful empires, Switzerland learned one rule: never become the target. That rule shaped everything, from its neutrality to its obsession with secrecy. The Swiss call it Sicherheit, total security. It's not just about defense. It's about control over information, image, and identity. Every law, every policy, every vault, built to protect what's inside from the chaos outside. Even ordinary citizens grow up with a quiet discipline, a belief that privacy is sacred and exposure is danger. This national psychology explains why Switzerland became the world's banker, the world's mediator, and the world's secret keeper. It doesn't trust the outside world. It manages it, quietly and efficiently. The fear of losing neutrality turned into an art of calculated distance. But there's a darker side. This same mentality often silences dissent. Speaking too loudly, asking too many questions, breaking the culture of discretion. All risk social exile. In Switzerland, stability isn't freedom. It's order. This controlled peace feels safe. But it's also cold, because when a nation values silence above all, the truth easily disappears in the quiet. And that silence reaches deep, even into the systems meant to protect justice itself. Far above the chaos of politics and poverty, Switzerland stands as the world's most trusted vault. For centuries, its banks have guarded not just money, but identities. Behind layers of codes and numbered accounts lies a parallel world where power hides in silence. The wealthy, the corrupt, even the criminal, all find safety here. Dictators fleeing revolution, corporations evading taxes, oligarchs moving fortunes across borders. Their paths lead to Switzerland. The nation's banking laws once made revealing a client's name a criminal offense, punishable by prison. It wasn't just privacy, it was protection. Today, more than a quarter of the world's offshore wealth still flows through Swiss banks. That's trillions of dollars, invisible to governments, unreachable by the poor. And while the average Swiss citizen lives modestly, their nation quietly holds more hidden money than any other country on earth. Switzerland calls it financial discretion. Critics call it legalized secrecy. But one thing is clear. Peace here has been built on silence, and that silence has become its most valuable export. Because the world doesn't just trust Switzerland with gold, it trusts it with secrets. And deep beneath those mountains lies something even more mysterious than the banks themselves. Vaults built to outlast everything, even humanity. Switzerland is famous for being landlocked, a country with no seas, no colonies, and no empire. But what if that wasn't the whole truth? What if Switzerland did take part in colonialism? Just not in the way we were taught. While the Swiss never sent armies to conquer lands, they played a silent but vital role in Europe's colonial machine. Swiss merchants, bankers, and investors financed colonial ventures run by Britain, France, and the Netherlands. Swiss traders shipped goods. Swiss missionaries educated indigenous populations. And Swiss mercenaries fought under foreign flags in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Even more disturbing, Swiss companies profited directly from slavery. They insured slave ships, processed slave-traded goods like sugar and cotton, and invested in plantations across the Caribbean. Towns like Basel and Geneva still bear traces of that hidden wealth. Buildings, banks, and families built on the suffering of others. And yet, when the world condemned colonialism, Switzerland stood aside, claiming innocence. It was neutral, detached, blameless. The truth is, Switzerland didn't need colonies of its own. It profited from everyone else's. That silent involvement helped shape its modern economy and laid the foundation for the global financial empire it commands today. But wealth like that doesn't come without a shadow. And for Switzerland, that shadow extends even into the mountains themselves. The Alps, the majestic heart of Switzerland. They symbolize peace, purity, and untouched nature. Tourists call them paradise, but beneath that breathtaking beauty lies a story few ever hear. For centuries, the Swiss Alps weren't just scenic mountains. They were barriers of survival. Hidden deep within them are entire bunker systems, secret military tunnels, and underground fortresses carved into solid rock. During World War II and the Cold War, Switzerland transformed its mountains into one of the most fortified regions on Earth. It wasn't just defense, it was preparation for the worst. Some bunkers could house thousands for months, complete with hospitals, food stores, and weapon depots. Others were disguised as chalets, barns, or even churches. And to this day, many of them remain sealed, their true purpose unknown. But there's another secret buried in those mountains: money. It's said that during the war, gold looted from victims of the Holocaust was smuggled and stored through Swiss banks, some hidden deep within Alpine vaults. Even decades later, full records of these transactions remain classified or lost. The Alps aren't just natural wonders. They are walls of secrecy. For most, they represent beauty and peace. But for those who know their hidden history, they also whisper reminders of what Switzerland wanted the world to forget.